So let's talk about alcohol, okay? Now, today we're stepping into a topic many avoid, dodge or laugh, just simply laugh off nervously. While sitting at a bar, and that's alcohol and the quiet havoc that it leaves behind. Now, I've seen enough lives, there of course, and people you try to communicate with, try to avoid this conversation, and I've seen people who have veered off and they're living under the same bottle that they promised to take a few sips off just to take the edge off. And there's no judgment here, only experience, a little bit tough love, no doubt, as always. So I'm going to broaden the scope and dive a little deeper, hoping to point out that the cultural machinery that shapes our habits and the cracks it leaves in our communities is here with us. So alcohol didn't just stroll into our lives, it marched in with a whole army of history, marking our social expectations. Now, from London pubs to Lagos parties, from Mumbai weddings to Buenos Aires street corners, drinking is wrapped in ritual and identity. And people call it letting loose, bonding, celebrating, coping, or just being normal. But normal doesn't always mean healthy. And by the way, when I said Mumbai weddings, I just want to be inclusive. Many Mumbai weddings do serve alcohol, especially modern or urban ones. And large venues often have full bars and liquor companies, even those that partner with wedding planners to set up branded pop-up bars and so on. And some communities, such as the Agris, they actually serve alcohol openly at pre-wedding events, like the Haldi ceremony. And in many Hindu weddings, alcohol is present but kept discreet or moved to separate areas. However, alcohol isn't universal, and many Hindu families actually avoid serving it during the main religious ceremony, reserving it for the reception. And some communities choose to skip alcohol entirely for cultural or religious reasons. And certain Maharashtra villages, they've introduced local bans on alcohol at specific wedding rituals. And traditional local drinks such as a Maho spirit also appear in some cultural practices. So drinking at Mumbai weddings is common, but not guaranteed. It depends heavily on the family, community, and of course the level of tradition. So back to the main point. When I watch good intelligent friends insisting that they're free thinkers, while they can't imagine a Friday night without sedating themselves, I can't help but see chains, soft chains, but padded with neon lights and cheap beers, but chains nonetheless. And this is an enslavement of people as I see it. You don't need the label alcoholic on the name badge. You're still drinking way too much. Daily sips, weekend wipeouts, booze at every social event, because that's what we do. This is dependence, subtle, polite, socially sanctioned, but dependence all the same. And here's the crux. There's people in a society that are numbed, distracted and hungover, and that's because they're far more easier to manage than people who are alert and questioning. Whether it's governments pushing excise revenue or corporations flooding you with adverts that make a chemical depressant look like liberation, it's all the same machinery. A quiet siphoning of money, a siphoning of energy and clarity, time surrendered, wages surrendered, will surrendered, hope surrendered, and potential surrendered. And there's a damage that we don't see, and there are real consequences. And I'm not talking about the cartoonish ones that people laugh about when they say they've had a good night out. There's physical damage, and a lot of studies show this. Alcohol doesn't ask permission before it starts taking pieces of you. Take the liver, for example. Long-term heavy drinking can cause alcoholic liver disease, which includes fatty liver, hepatitis, and cirrhosis. In the UK, alcohol is responsible for around 7,000 deaths a year, specifically from liver disease alone. 7,000 funerals for the love of a drink. I just don't understand it. And there's mental damage because alcohol also works on the mind, and it works in a more subtle manner because it's linked to anxiety, depression, memory loss, weakened impulse control. And heavy drinking changes the brain's chemistry, literally reshaping pathways and altering emotional regulation. A clear example being that regular heavy drinking can shrink the hippocampus. And this is a part of the brain that's responsible for memory and learning. In fact, this was the thing that scared me most as a young man. I would argue that I'd be made stupid as an adult if I drank too much, and I stuck to it. And here I am. So you can make your own minds up. And I did see some research at Oxford University that found that even moderate drinking, which is about 14 units a week, was associated with reduced grey matter. Now, my research also showed me that an estimated 283 million people globally have alcohol use disorders, according to the World Health Organization. And that was a study that was taken in 2023. And that's more than the population of Brazil. And there's also the denial that people actually push forward when confronted. People pull out government recommendations and guidelines like a shield. They willingly point to tidy charts with numbers and units, all approved by the same institutions that profit from alcohol taxes. Rarely do they quote independent researchers, medical journals, or the frontline doctors who see the wreckage every single day. Denial is convenient. It's also comfortable, but it keeps people trapped. So you can break the spell. And people are waking up, some after 5 or 10, or some after 30 years, some after the bottle has taken its relationships, their money, their confidence, or their health. And I hear many of them say the same thing with heartbreaking simplicity. I lost so much time. Being sober isn't a punishment. It's a clarity. It's energy. It's a rediscovering of the world without looking through the bottom of a glass. Some people quit drinking, others confront the real reason they drink, the job they hate, the loneliness they hide, the stress they can't express, the trauma they inherited. And I get that. But there's a wider angle. It's about systems and responsibility. There's a shared message across continents, which is more or less saying a person who can't see clearly can't resist clearly. And that comes from South African anti-apartheid activists who warned against substances that drain the people's strength, to Indian philosophers who insisted that clarity of mind is a bedrock of freedom. And I agree. This isn't just about health. It's about autonomy. It's about seeing the bars of your cage of comfort and choosing to step out. So how do we move forward? You don't need a revolution. All you need is a decision. So as is typical of the OBG show, here are some proposed solutions. Okay. Face your real reasons for drinking. Don't hide behind jokes or social customs. Sit with your truth. Build sober social spaces, because it's easiest to stay free when you're surrounded by people who aren't trying to drag you back into their coping mechanisms. Educate yourself with independent sources. Learn about the health effects and marketing tricks and the systems that profit from your dependence. And prioritize activities that give you clarity. For instance, movement, dance, exercise, art, nature, conversation. The world's still beautiful even when sober. And support others who are stepping away, because rebellion is easier when it's shared. And on a positive note, you don't have to be enslaved. You don't have to sacrifice another decade. And the moment you decide to live fully sober or fully honest, you reclaim something priceless. You reclaim yourself. And once you're fully present in your own life, there's no system on earth that can quietly control you again. And it's yours for the taking. So whatever route you choose, quitting the bottle is often the start of quitting the life that made the bottle necessary. And that's freedom.